Ladies and gentlemen, Big Hairy News.
Hey, kia ora koutou e te whānau. Welcome back to another episode of Big Hairy Losers from the New Zealand Radio and Podcast Awards. But it was just an honour.
Oh, that's so mean. That's so mean.
Hey team, welcome back. I tell you what, Chewie, left Dunedin. It was 12, 13, 14 degrees. Went to Auckland for like 3 nights. Came back to Dunedin and it's winter. 4 degrees
Yeah, it's
yesterday.
winter
But what,
Yeah.
like, what? Why did we trigger winter coming on?
I
What-
got an email when I got back going, hey mate, just locking in the time for your roof replacement. Should be in the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Oh, gosh.
And I looked at the weather outside and I looked at the calendar and I worked out with my own brain that that's very bad. So we'll see how that goes.
Yes, I have to show you something. I'm both a little bit excited and quietly, slowly terrified about tonight's show as well, because if I just show you the number of tabs I have
Jesus
opened,
Christ.
and that's not even all of them. There are actually a few missing from up there. I can just say it's going to be a big one. It's going to be a big one. Because sometimes we get rambling and not that I forget, but it kind of becomes a secondary thing. I'll do it right now. Huge thanks to all of our patrons. We'll talk about Friday, eh? Huge thanks to all of our patrons. It was fantastic to see plenty of you on Friday night in Auckland. We have had, I think, a dozen patrons sign up in the last couple of weeks.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and because last week was a bit weird, we had a public holiday, then I didn't do the official kind of hey new people. So this covers the last couple of weeks. A huge thank you to Richard Waiwiri, Daniel Ash, Butterfly by Night, Two Boots, Dan D, Eve K, Donna Ellis, John White, Wahiki 12, Kaimatara, and Luke McIndoe, all who have become patrons in the last couple of weeks. Huge thanks to you guys, and a huge thanks to you guys who turned up on a Friday night. If you're not a patron, you won't have seen these, but there are a bunch of photos on the interwebs about our lovely
You can see in that
meetup.
picture, that's very clear in that picture that some high-level talks are happening.
High-level talks are happening.
High
in the
level.
pictures. So thank you so much for turning up on Friday night, team. There's one of you, Chewie. Speaking of, there you go. There's the highest levels of talks right there. Something very important being said right there. I'm not sure what. So it was great, great fun. We probably had over the space of the whole night, maybe, I was going to say 60. We'll say between 50 and 60 people. About 30, 35 people there when we did the Patreon one, and probably another 20 or so-ish turned up between that. We got there at 5 p.m. Big secret can be revealed now. The Patreon meetup was at the same place as the other one. Shh, don't tell.
Hey!
So we got there at 5 o'clock, and I left at 10:30, and Chewie left about 11. So it was great. It was great. It was a great fun night. And I guess now it'll just be also, we could also say this one time for tonight. If you've always been around, lots of people who are saying they've been lurkers for a while and that they've come on board to be patrons now. Patreon.com/Big Hairy News if you want to be a part of us. We'll only do one hard sell this week, and this is the hard sell. The reason we're a good place to Patreon, to be a patron of, is that your Patreon goes towards not just BHN, but it enables me to do work on Craig Rennie's podcast, and it enables me to do work on Gary Payinda's podcast, which I'm going to put it out there, a little bit of faith, because it's a lot of work for me, that it will be starting this week. Got content, just got to go through it and organise it. So Garapiendas should be starting this week. So the cool thing about what we're doing and being a patron of BHN is it goes so much further. So much further. So thank you for you guys who are part of us. Really appreciate you. And lovely to see so many of you on Friday night. And we will do this more around the country, actually. I think we've kind of come to that agreement already without even thinking. We'll try and do a Wellington one and do a Christchurch one and a Dunedin one. Of course, the Dunedin one will be biggest because I've seen you guys get out and protest for the hospital. So I figure if they can get 35,000, we can probably get 10,000 to a Dunedin meetup, I would think. Wouldn't you think?
We're not greedy. We just want a slice of the pie.
Yeah, slice of the pie. Yep. So that's all very cool. That's very cool. Chewie, what do you want to say about Friday night, if anything? Meeting up with people and stuff.
We often say that the hidden, I guess, unexpected side effect of BHN, of what we decided to do with BHN, is I certainly didn't think about it. I don't think you did either, Pat, that one of the things that would spring up is just a really solid community. And I think that was, it's one thing to see people in the chat night after night after night, see the Discord kicking off and all of that sort of stuff. It's a completely different vibe when you've got a whole room of people. And
introduce a whole room of people introducing themselves and saying, "Hi, I'm such and such. Oh, you might know me by this other name online." That was funny.
Yes, I was pointing that out, like people using their like real world names, and actually we've got special code names that we use on YouTube and Facebook and stuff like that. So yeah, people were introducing themselves as like, I don't know what's your chat name. Was how that worked out. But yeah, it's humbling to see, how far people travelled over Auckland to come and see us. And
Hamilton, one was from Hamilton.
I didn't speak to the person who did Pukekohe and stuff like that. Of just people, I think the universal comment was almost, it's just nice to hear that people think like me.
Yeah, I'm with my people. Yeah.
And that's really humbling that we've done something that means that much to people.
Yeah. And also the other thing that, I think I said this when we did the live cross on Friday night, but we turned up, but I think I walked in first, and there was a group of people sitting at tables which were supposed to be reserved for us. And my immediate thought was, okay, there's people in our space. And then I realized very quickly that's because they were our people. So people had just turned up. There was probably 10 people there at that stage, turned up and just sat down and just began talking. And you knew because they had the BHN gear on, so obviously they were able to locate one another. And yeah, it was really nice to see people swapping phone numbers and kind of going, like, because if anything happens in Auckland, we could get together and whatever it is, whether it was a protest or whether it was a whatever. And that made me think, and I did say this on Friday, perhaps we need to have some chapters around the country, because then we can get a patch and then the government can ban us. Yeah. So maybe at some stage, not today, not tonight, so don't email it or anything. Maybe at some stage, we can look for local organisers almost. And then that person can run the Facebook page, and then we can get people out there and, overtake New Zealand. What did I say? I said something really smart on Friday night, which I can't remember now. It's I can't remember it either. And it's not for any reason we can't remember. We just can't remember. Something like, because what we became aware of is people are neighbours who are BHN viewers and community, and they don't know. So it's connecting the neighbours who are part of the BHN family. Like 2 people from Pukekohe were there, and they're like, oh yeah. So you might know that the person down the street is one of your people, but you don't know because they're in their house watching right now and you're in your house watching right now. But if we put something out there for the big hairy community, as Sarah's just said, I quite like that actually, Sarah. There you go, big hairy community. Then you might be able to find more of your people. Anyway, that's a ongoing conversation. Just thanks very much for that. And look, we've got a really big show, so maybe we should probably rip into it. There's a couple of extra bits and bobs I want to throw in tonight. And I think, Chewie, because we haven't talked about the awards, we'll do that as well. But I'm going to play Stacey's speech.
Yeah,
So
man,
I think
deserved.
we'll play that. We'll do that as one of our first bits, and then if you want to share anything about the awards, we can do that as well. Sorry, you go.
I was going to say just one very quick thing before we rip in and start demolishing your tabs. People often ask me, "What's a good place to put a sticker?"
Yeah.
You know, from the merch store.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I nearly stood on your news, Chewie.
As here is a good place on my new megaphone, which is going to be very useful in a variety of situations.
At the next meetup. At the next meetup for organising.
I won't overuse it. This is probably the last time. You won't see it again.
Can you take the end off, and does it become a little microphone so you can hold it? Is it that kind of megaphone, or is it also attached? There you go.
It comes off.
So if we had had that on Friday, we could have done speeches. Someone said, "Are we going to do speeches?" And we're like, I hadn't really thought about that. No, but we're in a bar, so yeah, to bought that we could have. There you go. So there you go for next time. Well done, Chewie. We're all very, very proud of you. We're not really going to cover this as a story tonight, but I think it's worthwhile having a couple of minute look at what's going on in Los Angeles at the moment. They did show this clip on One News tonight, but they didn't show the clip in its entirety. This is the Australian journalist that was shot with a rubber bullet, and the thing that it's showing online is it's not just like an accidental, as it's going by. Let's have a look at that clip. This is from a Twitter account, I think.
Has now rapidly deteriorated. The LAPD.
I'll play it a couple of times, because if you pause it, you can see the actually faux pas. Oops, maybe. The police officer. And they're saying aimed at her. I actually think are aiming at the camera operator, because it looks like it's just to the side of her. Let's have a look.
Moving in on horseback, firing rubber bullets at protesters, moving them on through the heart of LA.
I can't believe she didn't even flinch when that went off. I flinched watching it, and she's just standing there looking there. She's a hard ass. So I see this guy here. Actually, I paused it in the perfect spot. That guy right there on the last one. See how he's lifting up his gun? There you go. And I actually think he's pointing it straight here. It feels like it's going straight for this. Now, of course, that could mean he's going for someone behind or whatever. But to me, when I just before the fire, the barrel is lined up directly down, pardon the pun, but down the barrel of the camera. So that's what it looks like he's aiming towards me. Let's go back and just show it again.
Out of LA.
You just shut the fuck up. You okay?
I'm good.
That's so egregious.
I'm going to see if I can get it in the right spot. But yeah, so this is what's going on. See, look, there he is there. Look, see, this is the barrel. That's where my thing is. To me, it looks like, obviously, unless these rubber bullet things are like in the Civil War, apparently without a proper rifled barrel, when you shoot, it kind of can almost go anywhere, sort of thing. That's why a lot of people in duels back in the 1800s didn't die, because they didn't miss them. Unless rubber bullet weapons are like that, like he was then he was obviously aiming at her because it hit her. But yeah, there you go. You saw just that, but there it was like, it's pretty. But typical Aussie, she's kind of obviously in so much pain, she starts laughing. Yeah, I'm all right, like that kind of vibe. But I wanted to do a couple other things as well, because I wanted us to remember something that happened early 1990s. And this is a CNN program, so there's lots of imagery that goes over it. But I want to show you two graphics. So this is the Rodney King beating right now. There's graphics, so you go and see it. So we all know the story of this, what happened after the riots. So there was Rodney King on the ground, and they're just going at him with their batons, and it goes again and again and again and again. And this is sort of the CNN did the story. Look, standing on him, the first sort of viral story.
That the US solved this problem, eh?
Well, this is the thing I'm going to show you, Chewie, because I'm going to show you next, you mightn't be surprised, some footage from the current way that the police right now are treating protesters. See this guy on the ground here? These are horses around him. And what they're doing is actively trampling him with their horses. You have a look. See, he's on the ground there? There's horses all around him. Watch. Right on, look, this horse here. Look, that one's just stomped on him. That one's going to come over. Look, that one there's just stomping over the top of him. This is going on right now. Right beside him, look, horse is right beside him. And then as he tries to get up, they give him a biff. Look, he's got his billy club in his hand. And then he...
I'm going to make... I was going to make a point here that there's fireworks going off and those horses might have been startled, but then there's the baton strikes, and then there's the other cop that comes in and fucking grabs him. So,
I think it's just that the point I wanted to make is, people talk about, moving on, a more peaceful world. We'd never do what we did. We'd never have slaves again. We'd never make the black people drink in another. We'd never do this. We'd never treat people. Now that there's all these cameras around, in the 1980s, of course, NWA wrote albums about Los Angeles cops because no one could see anything. But since Rodney King, that's all stopped. Well, I know it's not exactly the same, but actively, police with their horses trampling a on the ground protester. What's changed?
It's nothing. I was going to say about rubber bullets as well. For those of you that don't know, rubber, being hit with a rubber bullet doesn't sound so bad. They say it's non-lethal or less lethal rounds. It is a rubber core around a metal object. And
they still kill people.
Yeah, if you get hit in the right place, like there was a journalist that lost an eye at a protest a few years back, directly aimed at the face, like this absolutely destroyed their eye. Took a case against the police department involved and won it handily. Got millions and millions out of them. How I saw that that reporter getting shot was actually that the rubber round may have been skipped off the ground.
Yeah.
So what happens when police do that is the rubber sheath comes off, and the round shatters into little shards of shrapnel and little bits of metal. It's not trained. It's not something that they're supposed to do, of course, but it's something that they can do. This has been a massive overreaction.
I've had a look at some videos today, and I noticed that the police officers walking forward and shooting into the ground, that is a tactic. And I thought, because they're at least trying to not hit them in the face or in the chest. I think my distant relations went through all the troubles in Ireland and were fought part of the IRA fighting, and there was lots of people killed by rubber bullets. It might have been a different technology then, but they are less lethal. They're not non-lethal. And they were true. They were walk like if you're 2 meters in front of me protesting, you're walking backwards, and they are shooting them at their feet. So that's actively happening. I could find that video if you want to see it, but that is actually actively. And you're right, because if she got hit in the leg, right, obviously they are pointing them down. So that's happening.
The police have used tear gas to disperse crowds and that sort of thing, and it's very easy to get hit in the head with a 40mm smoke grenade round. Yeah. So and that's the actions on the ground. Where it's come from is Donald Trump has gone over Gavin Newsom, the California governor. Ordinarily, the only people that can call out the National Guard are the state governors.
Hang on. No, that's not entirely true.
Usually,
no. The local governors control the police. The president has the right to call in the local the National Guard. But the last time they did it without governor approval was in the 1960s, and you can guess what kind of protest that was.
I was just about to say that traditionally the president hasn't.
Yeah. Yes.
It's been reserved for the state governors to call them in times of emergency or civil unrest. They're using an act from the mid 1800s to do it.
Is it still the Insurrection Act? Is that what they're saying?
It's the Insurrection Act from the 1800s. The last time that was used by the president reaching over top of a state governor was when they desegregated schools in the South, and they used the US 101st Airborne to escort children into schools. That was the last time. So there was no signs that this protest action in LA against these heavily militarized ICE raids in of workplaces and festivals and specific neighborhoods throughout Minneapolis was the first time that the people really sort of started to push back against that. And then here in LA was outside of the control of the LAPD. They had sheriffs, they had LAPD, and they had Border Patrol, ICE. I've seen footage from US Marines going into Fallujah that had less gear than what these guys had.
Yeah, my faux pas saying soldier instead of officer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an incredibly militarized police force over there. So it was well within the pushback, their capabilities to do what they wanted to do, but the people were starting to come out. And then Donald Trump has poured gasoline on this fire.
Yeah.
By pulling the National Guard in. Now remember, the National Guard are not trained for policing. They are part-time soldiers.
Yeah.
So they are not going to react the same way as law enforcement is, even in the American context. So it is insane.
But and what's happening
there this quickly?
What's happening now as well? Like, so what a lot of commentators in America are doing is Trump was just sitting there with his finger on the dial, waiting for the first car to be flipped or something, and then like National Guard. Like he was just because he wants to put this authoritarian tough man in there. But what's now happening, of course, is because the protesters are protesting authoritarians, they're protesting, force and stuff. So now the police are getting the flack of it. So some of the protests are happening down around the LAPD stations, and the police are at the front to protect their station. But that, of course, is going to escalate as well. So the reports I've seen are the police and the sheriffs are like, we're not into this. We don't agree with Trump. Like the people are something like, we're not. But now, of course, you're looking for a place of authority or a authoritarian figure, then obviously the LAPD is going to be a part of that, especially with the history of it when you look at the videos like the things we've just shown you to do with Rodney King. So yeah, it's pretty ugly overall, and it's pretty horrific what's going on. But we get the government we vote for, whānau, and this is the government America has voted for.
I saw a couple of really good points for some friends of mine online. One of them who grew up in the LA area, obviously mentioned the scars of the past, like the LA race riots and all of that sort of thing. But specifically, because this was her background as well, specifically how enmeshed the Hispanic community is in LA. It's a big part of the culture of that city.
Of course.
That this sort of stuff was never going to go unresisted. And one of the things that's happened is on Reddit, somebody with some knowledge of what ICE are doing is publicizing where they're going to raid, which is giving people a chance to respond. The other part of it is, as far as Donald Trump's prejudices towards California, being a Democratic state with a Democratic governor,
Sanctuary City.
He's the sanctuary cities, how he responded to the LA wildfires and who he blamed for that. This is absolutely perfect that it is kicking off in LA.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's to his benefit. It's accelerationism. I see Hegseth is talking about deploying the Marines from, I think, Camp Pendleton, which is in there, which is again like not the National Guard, the actual Marines. Yeah,
I saw it. That was on the news tonight as well, calling the Marines in,
which is a huge escalation as well. I find it funny that the people on the right that were always talking about government overreach and having to push back against tyranny, here it is. Where are you?
All right. Hey, let's get into the rest of the show. We're going to do a bit on the radio awards next, mostly because there was a fantastic speech by Stacey Morrison. But first of all, some super chats that have been coming in. When do we get our BHN submission bot merch? Okay. It's putting it out there. Okay. I'll show you. This is one of the tabs that isn't open. I got my 18-year-old to do a stock take on the blanks, like a t-shirt or a hoodie that's got nothing on it as a blank. The number of blanks I have in the house right now. I came home and the corridor, Chewie, you know how long our corridor is, from one end to the other had cardboard boxes in it. And I was like, what? How many boxes of
printing business?
Yeah. So listen, we might have some ideas for merch coming out shortly because we've got a huge amount of product. If I get a chance to send myself the email, I'll show you some photos. Tiffany says, just looking at the patron tiers, executive producers get a monthly call. is this like a weird OnlyFans crossover asking for a friend? It's funny because I've never done one. I've said to them all for a long time, you want to call? And they're always like, no, it's all good. I know, right? So yes, I guess it is a weird OnlyFans where I say I will show you my bum and then never have to. That's kind of about it. Andrew says, did we see today's New Zealand's richest getting wealthier? It's just over 100 billion, 40% of our wealth in the hands of 119 families. Wealth disparity is ruinous. Yep. Some of those guys for Millionaires for Humanity, I'm looking to try and get on at some stage this week as well, just to have a chat about that whole thing. Wooming says that'd be good prep for local body elections. What were we talking about then, Chewie? 9:10. But whatever it was, good prep for local body elections. Chewie, you were about to say something? I heard an intake of breath. No? Yes?
Sometimes I like to breathe.
Okay. Oh, real? Nice.
Yeah.
Fair enough. JC and the Pigeon Cats. I got very excited when a courier arrived today, but no, it was not my fuck around hoodie. It was some junk from my wife got from a Temu. Everyone should have their tracking numbers, so go over squiz, JC. If you don't have it, let us know and I'll look it up for you. Tiffany says, ACAB, all cops are bastards, and double E, so for brown shirt wannabes. Peter says, I don't use the word fascist lightly, but yeah, this is back to the right at the moment. Tiffany also says they have a Second Amendment for a reason. Again, JC says, has anyone been following the speculation about vote rigging, etc., including the court cases starting to pop up? Any thoughts on legitimacy of these claims? I'm not too much over that. Chewie, you got any ideas?
No, I haven't looked at that at all. Sorry.
We will bookmark it to look at. Gavin Newsom needs to send out the LAPD to stand between the National Guard and the protesters. Yeah, I thought that too, Gold. Wonder if he could do that, because I think unfortunately I don't disagree with you, but I think now putting into a real world application, I don't know if the protests would go, oh, LAPD, they're on our side. Just the imagery of it might not quite work. But yeah, that would certainly be a stand, wouldn't it? David Lucky McLucky says, Flucky, I'm late, fuck late, playing Daisy. Kaima Tara, Imperial Boomerang, this is precisely why the lesser evil won't stop it either, because where did this ICE Gestapo get their training over the years? Yeah. And finally, Robbie says, when he dumps you so hard, you deploy the goon squad.
That's a very good point, isn't it? The Trump-Elon very public breakup over the weekend, and now this. Now, I thought we would go straight into the Monday show just talking about, I don't know, we were going to play an hour and a half of Trump-Elon breakup memes and just really do that, just like a slideshow. But suddenly this has pushed it all aside. How very convenient.
Yeah.
All you have to do is burn one of your major cities and we're away laughing.
Chewie and I went to an award show on Thursday night, don't you know? Yes, we went there. Now, it's fair to say, Chewie, that the day I announced we had a nomination, I said, let's go watch Nate Nixon win the award. Who won the award on Thursday night, Chewie?
It was Nate Nixon.
Nate Nixon. That's fine. That's all good. And it was fun. It was great fun. At the start of it was quite inspiring at the start. So they had you can go and have a look at it online. Go to YouTube and look up New Zealand Radio Awards and it'll come up. But the start of it started with a kapa haka, and the kapa haka group did their welcome. And then they stood up and they said, 25, 35, whatever it was, years ago, Mai FM started. I think Mai FM is nationwide now. Mai FM was R&B, hip-hop, an Auckland-only station for quite a long time. And Mai FM was going through some tough times 20, 25 years ago. And so they made a haka for Mai FM. So Mai FM had its own haka. And obviously that helped bring the team together, and did something from 20 years ago. And then it kind of went away. And the person's up on stage talking, the leader of the Cup Haka, and he goes, this year we've retaught or retrained all the Mai FM announcers the Mai FM Haka. And then what they did was they called all the Mai FM team up onto stage, and all of them, the Kapa Haka group and the Mai FM crew, all did the Mai FM Haka. It was cool. It was cool, actually. That was real cool.
It was very good. It was a hell of a moment.
And we didn't make contact because everyone kind of split at the end. But 2 rows in front of us were Mahinirangi Forbes, her were Scotty Morrison and Stacey Morrison. Stacey's dad, James Daniel, who I used to work with at Hits, because Stacey got like a special award. It was so weird being there and seeing these kind of lifetime achievement awards for the people who used to employ me. I'm really old. This is 6 minutes, which is quite a long watch for us. We normally do 3 or 4, and then we tend to cut in and out. But I just, I got the opportunity in the setup for this show to use the word Chewie, which I thought was quite a good word. Because Stacey here both chides, rebukes about the use of te reo, and then charges the people within this auditorium to be the people who not are responsible for, but are the carriers of te reo. You think about the people in this room, there's 700 people, the biggest radio stations in the country, TV people there. Like, the people in this room would be listened to by more millions that are in the country, meaning some people would listen to 2 stations, 10 million people. And Stacey's up the front, Stacy Daniels, talking about te reo, how important it is. And I just thought, if we didn't get to hold a little certificate ourselves, then this is kind of the next best thing to give back to you guys, to show that there are these people out there who are putting some real hard pressure, appropriately so, on people in positions of power to do better. Is that fair, Chewie?
Absolutely fair.
Let's have a listen. Oh, and why there's clapping is Scotty Morrison's just spoken to her. Mihi's standing up at the moment. The whole Mai FM team is standing up, and then they've given her an honour, and then they're all sitting down. That's what the clapping is.
Tēnā katahina te tauira, and just as you've witnessed now, te reo Māori is also very sexy. Tēnā koutou, thank you for standing up, because it would have been really awkward if you didn't after Roger. Mōku ake. But it's okay, because I had Don McGlashan in the sidelines who's ready to be crowd control. E rua aku mihi ki a Ngāti Whātua o Rākei, tuatahi hei mana whenua o tēnei takiwā. Tuarua, hei pou mō te reo irirangi o Ngāti Whātua taku ukai pō Mai FM. No one's laughing because you don't understand what I just said, but I want to recognise Ngāti Whātua o Rākei as the mana whenua of here, but also of what Mai FM is at its heart, at its essence, at its origin. It is te reo irirangi o Ngāti Whātua, Mai FM tēnā rā koutou katoa. The way that you open today is extremely important. Tēnei ka mihi kia Eru mā. So Eru opened us up, and I would like to acknowledge the whakaro nui. Thank you so much to the organisation, RBA, for considering the fact that opening with te reo Māori, having a whakatau, having a pōwhiri, means that we are in the one place in the entire world where te reo Māori is at its origin. Are
you listening, government? Do you see the point of difference yet? Are you hearing it?
Makes us know that we are in a very special place, and at the New Zealand Aotearoa Radio Music Awards. The music now, yep, they're all of the things. E mihi ana ahau kia koutou katoa engari ki ngā taringa. Tuatahi ko te reo, tuarua ko te taringa. We are nothing without those who listen to us, without those who share their lives with us. Sometimes people are lonely when they're listening to Marcus. Sometimes they're angry when they're listening to Mike Hosking. I'd just like to mention, actually, when I was first at Mai FM with Robert Akete, tēnā rawa atu koe taku tūngane, that was when Mai FM 88.6 beat News Talk ZB. And that was allegedly because of our frequency, because you get in a Japanese car. You have all heard that one.
So in Auckland, Mai FM was on 88.6, and Japanese cars only went up to 89.8 or something like that. So that's what that's what ZB would blame.
But then look at you now. Kia kaha koutou ke te hāpai tonu i te Māori, i te tapu o tēnei mea ngā reo irirangi Māori. Because iwi radio stations are doing incredible things. Tūranga FM, you've got to watch it, it's amazing. You can watch it, you can live it, you can be it. So iwi stations, no mai hara mai ki tēnei pai. I'd also like to thank NZME. Thank you for having me, taku whare o ngā tau rua te kau. And that would be when we went to go and start Flavour. Yeah, I want to say Flavour out loud so it actually gets said out loud tonight. If anybody loves old school hip hop and R&B, let me hear say yeah. Yeah, because I was on My Time when we first said, here's a brand new song from Tupac, it's called California Love. But we actually started that with my dad, who is here tonight, James Daniels. He is everything about the term OG, and that can be verified by Leon Ratt, who was our neighbour in Blenheim when he worked at Radio Caroline. Engari he take nui tēnā ki au papa. It's beautiful to be a second generation radio brat, and my sister Natasha also helped start Flavour. Then I went to, and you might want to shout them out, woohoo, Classic Hits as it was, The Hits, yeah, that's about right, it's about awkward, and also back to Flavour. Nō reira, mihi ana kia koutou katoa. Engari, nōku te waimarie e me taku mihi nui kia RNZ. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here tonight. That is incredibly generous on your part. And RNZ is home to an exceptional wahine Māori who truly is standing out and outstanding all the time. Mihi ngarangi Forbes. No one does it like mihi ngarangi. And it's not easy to. Finally, and surprisingly to me, in 2025, I must ask and plea that you have your continued aroha and you take the opportunity to uplift te reo Māori in your work practice. You don't have to be an expert in te reo Māori to be a champion for te reo Māori. And I would actually suggest that it's a professional opportunity to be able to pronounce one of the official languages of our country correctly when we broadcast. Nō reira, kia kaha tātou katoa. I know it's scary, but we can do this together. Nō reira, toi tū te aroha nui ki tō tātou reo Māori. Please ensure. Can I get you to be a homie? A homie, H-A-U-M-I, is an ally. So, will we be an ally for te reo Māori? My homie. Thank you, what up, my homie? And finally, to my true homie, taku whānau. As I say, we're second generation, but it's for the next generation. Taku tāne, ko tō manawa, ko taku manawa. Your heart is my heart. Nōku hoki te waimarie. Tēnā rā koutou katoa.
Awesome.
Hell of a speech.
Hell of a speech.
Hell of a speech.
Anything you want to add to?
Oh, I've got so many thoughts about that. First of all, I am constantly on awe of anybody that can just switch between any two languages like that. That's phenomenal. I find it amazing to listen to, even if I don't understand it. It's an amazing skill to be multilingual. I love the fact that it could have very easily been one of these things. It could have been a speech begging a room of people to do better for te reo. It could have been a speech shaming people into using more te reo. It could have been something just more pushing, or it managed to be all of the things. It was reaffirming, it was urging, it was pulling people with them. It had everything. And I think you'll notice when she starts along that there's a pause before the applause that I kind of read as, oh shit. And then it was very much full-throated as she got on. There was no gap. You know, I started my radio career in the early 2000s. And I remember part of my training was a very brief unit standard in the Māori language, where I had to do a voice break that had 5 Māori words in it. And I just listed my top 5 New Zealand trees. the laziest of lazy things, but it got me that tick on that unit standard. I am very, very glad to see that the industry has come a long way. It's still got a long way to go, but it has definitely improved.
Yeah. Yep, very cool. Andrew says New Zealand should be bilingual. Only take 10 years of collective effort. LFG. Let's fucking go. Te reo for community English for the world. Now, Kiwi Bird asked a question that we are obviously already working on. Did we not say that night, Chewie? The homie,
you know
homie gear.
a t-shirt idea as soon as you hear it, and that's definitely one of them.
Yep, that'll come. A version of it will be coming. Trust me. Definition of a good speaker: someone who can make you laugh, but also make you feel emotion in a serious matter. On the previous conversation, Tiffany says, just to point out, the National Guard was sent to Standing Rock. Indigenous people are sitting here like first time. We told you so. They are fascists. And Kiwi Bird says again, can we get a BHN haka? I mean, anything's possible. Yeah, I still like the idea of a patch, first of all. And just sell our own patches. And then people can put them on the back of their jackets. I don't really want to go off Stacy into the worst person in the world. So I'm going to do a little buffer in between, which is still a pretty terrible story, because a big part that we've realized about David Seymour is he is a little bitch. But I think the reason he is a little bitch is that so many on the right are little bitches. So many on the right are the snowflakes that they accuse the left of being. So many on the right are the soy boys they accuse the left of being. Accusations are confessions. And so in saying that, I want to show you a Twitter conversation I had over the weekend. And as with any troll, right, this person will be excited that I'm talking about it. So Chewie, I redacted all their details, because fuck them.
Eat shit.
So I put a thing up on, it was only yesterday actually, because this idea just came to me overnight. And actually, sometimes you have an idea, but you go, oh, this will have been done before. Wonder how Joe Rogan is feeling. His two daddies are fighting. Who do you think will get custody? And then person X comes back. Do you always steal viral jokes and pretend they came from that soy brain of yours? My response, hey, Primate, why don't you come on my show for a chat about politics? You can test that soy brain of mine. Should be an easy win, yes? The person responds, is that the admission of stealing a viral joke? And then they put the link in.
God.
And then I just did exactly the same thing. Why don't you come on my show for a chat about politics? You can test that soy brain of mine. Should be an easy win for you. And then someone else, this is not the person, came and said, you're very predictable. So yes, it would be an easy win. And I said, well, maybe you can let your mate know about that. He's gone radio silent since I've offered him a chance to embarrass me. This person, who I've redacted, says, silent. Try answering my question first. Is that an admission of stealing a viral joke? So I said, third and final time, why don't you come on my show for a chat about politics? You can test that soy brain of mine, exactly that word, or you can continue to run away. This is the response. This is the little bitch, right? Considering you can't even answer a question I've asked 4 times now, it doesn't give me any confidence in talking to you live would be any different. He's never going to do it. But I know that. You know that. So I said this. You are a coward, and everyone can see it. You've come on my timeline and made a claim about me. I challenge you to put up or shut up, and you try to divert the conversation with irrelevant questions. Oh, I haven't got the full thing. This is a screen grab. Obviously, because I've redacted it. So what I said here was, let me ask you this. If I answer the question, will you guarantee you will come on and da-da-da-da-da? So I basically said, okay, I'll answer the question as long as you say you'll come and have a chat with me. And the person's response was, aren't you now embarrassed how unhinged you sound? Oh. We all know you stole that viral joke and pretended it was your own, hence avoiding the question 5 times. What upside is there for me to appear on your show? Get yelled at by 2 bearded, gay, middle-aged virgin social justice warriors while doxing myself to your army of virgins? It's you guys, army of virgins. Virgin social justice warriors while doxing myself to your army of... Because it's projection! How can you know? Because it's projection! It's projection. I mean, that's how it knows.
That's a devastating guess that he's worked out that none of our chat fuck.
It says, who will make it their life's work to blackball me, all for the privilege of your 23 trans version. Watch us on live stream. Just as an aside, not to do with this. Last month, 850,000 views. BHN. Just
that's a lot more trans virgins than 23.
Not exactly appealing. So I said, so that's a no then. You look pretty pathetic, but you've made your choice. Namahi. I thought Namahi was a nice little bit at the end because it pissed him off. They're everything they project to be. So here's another example. I haven't got it as a thing. We all put up stuff about Elon this weekend. And of course, what these kinds of people did went, so watch the left now try and get Elon back into their camp after they've called him a Nazi for a year.
No,
the left are not going to try and get Elon back into that. But Chewie, again, it's projection, because you know what they would do? They would welcome that person in. If someone was on the left, if it was Chloe Swarbrick, the biggest leftist in New Zealand, if for some reason Chloe had a head injury and became trans rights bad and all this kind of stuff, they would welcome her on board. So it's projection. They think the left is going to go, Elon, come back over. No one's going to do that. Now, in politics, in America, they might look for his money. That's because they're soulless goons, right? And they've got not a moral bone in their backbone. But the left are not welcoming Elon Musk back. But it's projection because the right would welcome the equivalent onto their side. So everything the right points out and accuses people of, soy boys, all those kinds of snowflake. Oh, look at them melting. That's what they are. And I wanted to give us a bit of it wasn't really a palate cleanser, but something between the last story and the next story to echo how much of a little bitch David Seymour is. But first, Chewie, would you like to speak to that?
I would. The hypothetical you posed of someone like Chloe having a massive head injury and completely changing, that is known as doing a fetamin.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Or doing a Dave Rubin.
The US politician who had a stroke and then went very right wing. It's funny, right? So, this whole soy boy thing, like the leftist men are not masculine enough. We're all too feminine and woke and all of this sort of thing. It's not leftist men lining up to do those alpha male fucking boot camps where people shout at you and beat you with sticks and then you touch each other at night. Is it?
And shave
it's not
perfect
lefty
beards.
Men doing that.
Yeah, you're right, actually.
It's hilarious. It's like it's always been that way. Like, oh, you're gay. I'm like, well, I'm not. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't matter if I was.
Yeah, if I was, what would it mean?
What if I am? Does it mean my opinion's wrong? No? Okay. Well, I mean, my wife disagrees that I'm gay, so there's that. You just got her fooled, bro. Maybe you're a bit bi. Maybe you're just a bit bi. Maybe that's what it is. Yeah, but yeah, it's this style of online debate where you win the debate if you stonewall and then bitch out. Like all it matters is that you have the final word. Not that there's an exchange of ideas, not that there's a presenting of facts or opinion or that sort of thing. You're just being a little bitch until you can sort of rule, well, you haven't fit into the rules of the debate that I've just come up with right now. I've had that all day over Greta Thunberg and her aid convoy.
Yep.
Like, I had a conversation with a guy who was like, she's doing it for bragging. And I was like, what? What the fuck does that even mean? But even if she was bragging, she's bragging with a boat full of food and medical supplies. So that's more than you or I have managed to do. So even if it is for fucking online clout, who cares?
Yeah. It's hilarious, isn't it? I mean, we get that a fair bit as well. It's always this thing about, so why don't you go and get a job? What are you doing? Why don't you do something properly? Oh, I don't have my camera. Oh, there we go. That's why. I need a job because I need to get a better camera. And it's like, do you have no idea what we're doing with this? How many hours we're putting into this? The reach we're getting with this? I've got a job. Chewie's got a job. And Chewie does a part-time job as well. But you don't have a clue. You don't have, I mean, like, I actually think the awards are a bit kind of, not naff, but they're not particularly important. But all of those people in those radio awards, all those RNZ people that got those ZB, those Clack at the Rock, have they got jobs? Is what they're doing have some value to it? Because we're in that group. We're in that group with them.
Not more than an hour ago, some guy on Facebook tried to belittle my point about the Greens budget. I was making some points, and he called me. He's probably just one of those bludgers that doesn't know what he's talking about. I haven't been out of full-time work for more than 2 weeks since I was 15. Well, full-time work or training since I was 15.
But that's in that 2 weeks, though, Chewie. In that 2 weeks, you probably bludged about $1 billion. So you haven't made up for it.
I did go full communist. So maybe there is something in that. Oh, there we go. There we go. It's made it through the. Oh no, there we go. Welcome. Kia ora, comrade.
No, Bill's one of ours. Oh my God, says Greg. Pat's wearing pants. Yeah, sorry about that. It's because the camera went funny.
The illusion's ruined.
Okay, let's get going because we want to talk about little bitches. And the funniest you know what? I don't want to help ACT, but their social media game is so bad.
Oh, they think they're so good though.
Oh God, it is so bad. So today, ACT releases the full 42 minutes of the interview that Seymour did with John Campbell a wee while ago. And look at some of the comments in here. It's so good to see the whole interview. It's easy to see how easily they would have edited to suit various agendas. So refreshing at many levels. Campbell hates losing control of the editing. Well played, Mr. Seymour. It's great seeing the whole uncut interview. John Campbell constantly going for gotcha questions rather than informing interview. Another overall pathetic public servant. Let me say this. This was kind of something towards the end. This whole interview is on the TVNZ website. I can show it to you. Look, there it is. 43 minutes. The whole thing is there. And guess what? It's better because both of them are mic'd. Nothing is hidden. It's there. We're going to listen to some of ACT's version of it. And ACT has the worst tech. He's got those DJ mics like I use, but he hasn't got a fluffy head on it. So you hear it going like this. The whole time underneath his tie or wherever, up his ass, wherever he's got it stuck. I don't know. But the other thing, here's something that I'm going to show you as we go through. ACT today publicised this whole 43 minutes. They leave in the whole 43 some of the things that TVNZ took out for time that makes David Seymour look so much worse. So ACT has this narrative about, look, we're going to show the whole thing because they're going to edit it badly and make me look bad. They took out so much stuff that makes him look terrible and they left it in. So all of a sudden, TVNZ, these evil guys trying to make me look bad, actually made him look better in the 11-minute clip that probably, if we're honest, 90% of people saw on the TVNZ website. ACT put out the video and they included all the stuff that makes him look really, really bad. And when I say really bad, I mean historically hypocritical. You will love this.
Howdy.
How are you?
Not too bad.
This is all a bit weird. I want to play this because you want to see. So there's thing going on called David versus the media. It's a thing ACT does. And he is always performing for his own camera. Always.
Yeah.
Like always for his own camera. The person here who is disingenuous is David Seymour. Watch how he starts this conversation. And John Campbell's a bit like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Sorry. Thank you. I gather you was surprised we'd accept the interview.
I didn't say that.
I gather you used the C word in reference to how we were supposed to.
So John Campbell's done something like being self-deprecating, and he talks about it here to the press secretary. He's gone, I thought David Seymour I was a bit of a cunt. You know, he said something like that, obviously in jest, and now David Seymour's making something of it like it's a big thing. He's performing for his own social media.
Regard you.
I don't think I did that.
Oh, fair enough. Maybe it was a misunderstanding.
Have you just come out of Parliament?
Yeah.
And what happened?
So this is
well,
last
surprise,
week, yeah?
surprise, the debate was adjourned.
And this is the debate on the privileges for the 21 days.
Yep, so the debate's adjourned. It'll come
Yeah.
back in a few weeks,
Yeah.
and in the meantime,
Yeah,
we have a budget to pass.
yeah,
You just want me here?
yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Cool.
Nice to see you.
You too, John.
Thank you, thank you. What was that? What was that about? What was that little arrival about?
Well, I was just surprised to hear from my staff that you'd said that word. I mean, I know.
Pardon my pearls. You said a naughty word, John Campbell. That means you're a shill for Jacinda. Like, honestly, what is this? And this goes on for a little while, a couple more minutes, but there is a part of this, Chewie, which is historic hypocrisy.
I know you've been surpassed more recently, but I just found it interesting.
It was, yeah. So are you playing to Andy here? Was that for social media?
No.
Are you playing Andy?
Spotted!
I wanted
Yep.
to ask you.
Yeah.
Spotted!
I think what I tend to do now when I'm asking for interviews, because people aren't always pleased to hear from you, is be reasonably self-deprecating. I think that would be a fair description of how I approach this moment.
Yep.
So that is what you said.
I can't remember.
Oh, okay, right. But it's plausible.
What point is he trying to score, Chewie? Like, what is he actually trying to? What's he trying to do? I mean, yes, he's playing for his camera, but I don't understand what narrative he's trying to put out there. Like, honestly, it's like, what are you saying? He's now, you're undermining him because he used a swear word about himself. Like, what are you actually trying to do here? It's bizarre.
I think what it is if you can score some sort of point, no matter how confusing it is.
Yeah.
Like if you go, so you say, so it's plausible then.
Yeah.
So it's a yes. It's a pointless point, but it's a point to him nonetheless.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What John Campbell's mean, like no one in the country would believe.
Like
everybody's uncle.
I'll tell you right now, every broadcaster that can't swear on air swears like a fucking sailor when they're off air.
All right, we're going to keep going because there's one really particular point here, and I've said it 3 times now. Historically high levels of hypocrisy.
Even so, it's plausible. I think what I do is I tend to go in and give people the right to say.
Yeah.
And you know what I think? I mean, I've actually sent John a message. I've never heard back from him, so he might not get them. I wanted him to come on and see what he thought about this. I reckon John Campbell's gone, okay, you want to play that game? Let me just drop something here. I think, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Which I would think was a position. Was that the position I was coming
Well,
from?
people already have the right, though. I mean, you needn't give them the right. They already have it.
Yeah. And you said yes. I really appreciate it.
Oh, of course, John. We're very available, despite what people may have said or written before.
Is he?
We show up.
Is he?
You don't
Jason?
want to report though, do you? Why is that?
Well,
You just missed that though, bro. You got to hear this because John Campbell says you don't go on morning report. Right, this is a big part of it.
people may have said or written before. We show up.
You don't do morning report though, do you?
Don't do morning
Like that.
report.
Mainly because of their off-air behaviour,
Right.
and their highly selective choice of stories. Sorry, mate.
okay.
Hang on, there's my phone. Look, I think the thing with those guys, so there were basically 3 issues. One was that when we did what we regard as really important, serious stuff, like unleashing an alternative budget, they just weren't interested.
Yeah.
Second of all, a lot of the young staff were very rude.
Yeah.
And thirdly, they'd get me on for one thing, because they'd actually basically lie about what they wanted us on for,
Yeah.
and then start asking me about something else. And I said, look, if you've just said, you know. So then I thought, well, gee, I actually don't need this in my life.
Yeah.
And over that time that I've refused to go on, we've gone gangbusters. They've gone like that, and I've maintained a really good relationship with everyone else at Radio New Zealand, who I generally like. So it's up.
So here's stage 1. So he doesn't go on morning report, and there was all that bullshit. I wanted just people to show, because we're not gonna get him if I keep saying this, but I'll keep saying it. He is a little bitch, right? But let's look at the hypocrisy. He doesn't do morning report. Chewie, do you remember, Chewie, back in the day, there was a time where Jacinda Ardern wouldn't do Mike Hosking?
I remember that very clearly.
Do you remember that time when Jacinda Ardern didn't actually say she wouldn't do it, but she'd come on it like when it was needed? Remember that time? that she wouldn't do one of the two biggest breakfast radio shows in the country. Do you remember potentially what David Seymour said about that? Let's go and have a look. The headline for the article: Acts David Seymour lashes out at escalating arrogance of Jacinda Ardern dumping weekly talk with Mike Hosking. A few of the highlights: Jacinda Ardern will ultimately regret this escalating arrogance. The latest example being cancelling her weekly discussion with Newstalk ZB's Mike Hosking. Escalating arrogance. It joins a long list of increasingly hubristic moves from the Prime Minister and her government. Seymour said Ardern was avoiding answering questions by deplatforming herself from Newstalk ZB.
Deplatforming herself.
Seymour said it looks to be government quote-unquote arrogance and is getting in the way of problem solving. His comments come after National leader Judith Collins also criticised the move, accusing Ardern of not liking hard questions. So Ardern was missing it because she didn't want to do hard questions, but Seymour's skipping Morning Report because they were mean to me and they said some rude things. This is what Seymour said. You can't paint yourself as the paragon of democratic virtue. I'll change this word for Mr. Seymour. You can't paint yourself as the paragon of free speech and then not walk the talk. Not if you want to stay in favour with voters. Finally, from Mike Hoskins, I think, often critical of the government, Hoskins said late last year people misunderstood his relationship with Ardern, and despite often fiery interviews, he actually likes her a lot. It's our work, Hoskins said in December. It's what we do. There's nothing personal in it. But the radio host said on Monday, Ardern was, quote, running for the hills and, quote, is over being held to account. So, Mr. Seymour, one must assume that you are running for the hills and are over being held to account. Can you believe, I've got some other things to play through, but before, please, free reign. Can you believe this little bitch refuses to go on Morning Report when 3 years ago, he was very clear, the undemocratic height of arrogance of Jacinda Ardern for not going on Newstalk ZB. As I said, historic levels hypocrisy. We comes with receipts, Chewie.
Oh, I'm shocked. I'm shocked at the level of arrogance, hypocrisy, bullshit narrative, being a coward, saying that he's available. It's all nonsense. And this, I love the fact that John Campbell has absolutely clocked exactly what he's doing within less than a minute of talking with him. Of like, oh yeah, here's what's up. Here's the other hint I have for you, David. If you're going to conceal a microphone, do it somewhere better. It sounds like fucking garbage, mate. It sounds like you're wearing it internally. It's so dumb.
Hey, there's one more thing. Let me get to this. So here's the first thing. Remember, that conversation around Morning Report, not in the 11-minute article. ACT put that out and enabled me to see it and go, hang on. So thanks, ACT, for putting this piece of content out there, for allowing us to demonstrate the unbelievable hypocrisy David Seymour is comfortable to live with. Here's another clip, Chewie, that TVNZ did not put in their 11 minutes. Do you know the whole thing around the 23,000 submissions for the last round of the reason? Well, in this clip, John Campbell embarrasses the crap out of him because David Seymour tries to say that 23,000 submissions is a pretty good sort of feel of the community, to which John Campbell says very quickly, but you say they're all bots. So he's trying to use the number 23,000 when he wants to say we've had good coverage from the country. But when it comes up not in his favour, he just says they're all bots. And guess what TVNZ did with this incredibly incriminating, embarrassing part of the interview? They left it out of the edit. I thought the only reason these guys edited was to make these guys look bad. The only one that's made ACT look bad in this conversation is ACT. Have a quick listen.
In the Law Society's view, it is striking that a policy protest purporting to promote good lawmaking and high-quality regulation should fail to meet the proposal's own standards.
Okay. I have no idea what they mean by that.
So they mean inadequate consultation?
Right. So we had, what, 20... You can't say we had 23,000 people write in and consultations inadequate.
I thought they were spam emails.
No, there are also a number of quite serious ones. There's some substantial
Right,
people
were they serious ones spam email or not?
Well, the difference is if it's somebody saying, I oppose this bill because someone told me to, that's spam. If it's someone who writes a lengthy and detailed submission on whether they think this is a good policy or whether there's a different way to solve the problem, there was that too.
Okay,
So there you go. Seymour both saying that it was a very good sign that we had 23,000 submissions, but also they're bots when we don't want to talk about only 0.3% went my way. TVNZ didn't show that clip. I mean, it's on the TVNZ website because contrary to Mr. Seymour's claims that they want to put this out there so everybody can see the full interview is there. Oh, sorry, I got it too far, haven't I? There, right there. This is the full interview.
On gangbusters,
and look,
I've gone like that.
Much better quality.
And I've maintained a really good relationship with everyone else at Radio New Zealand, who I generally like. So it's up to them to change.
It's a good gallery team at Radio New Zealand.
So there you go. So it's just David Seymour is a little bitch. The right project what they're actually doing. He is the snowflake. The right are the ones. I mean, like, if anyone can talk about snowflakes with confidence, it's people in the Lower South Island right now. Fair? And I just want us to stay on this. I just want us to point out again and again and again. And let's just talk about ACT for a second, as I'm about to throw it across to you, Chewie, and talk about how there are so many things you're about to see with Jack Tame where ACT say, we want to do it this way. And they go, but your legislation says you're not allowed to do it that way. Oh, yeah, other people aren't allowed to do it that way, but we want to do it this way. And it's just more examples of it again and again and again. Chewie.
I do not like this narrative that has come out of David very recently, that there seems to be a yardstick of quality before he'll consider a submission.
Yeah.
The submissions process is an often ignored part of our democracy. There is no yardstick for a quality of a submission. Anybody can do it. It can be handwritten. It can be submitted through the website. It can be a fucking fax. It doesn't matter. It's a part of our democracy that's available for any citizen to do. Well, anybody in the country or outside of it. There's nothing that says that you need to be a learned professor or an expert in the field.
In fact, it's good to have the opposite to that person you've just described. In other words, getting a full representation of everybody, whether you're learned and can use 4-syllable words or whether it's all 2-syllable words because you're not quite as smart, but it's still very clear. We should have a broad range of submissions.
Removing opportunities for people to express their opinion into their democracy does not make our democracy stronger. Now, ACT and its supporters and David Seymour will often wax lyrical about the strengths of Western democracy and the democratic process and that sort of thing. And again, I want to call out this hypocrisy as the benefit of more political donations than the left. That weakens our democracy. As a party that is comprised of so many former lobbyists and benefits from the actions of other lobbyists, they weaken our democracy. Putting a yardstick up for a submission that earns his respect somehow weakens our democracy.
Yeah.
The fact that he will attack our public broadcaster and put a yardstick there that they need to clear for him to come on the show weakens our democracy. It all lines up. All you have to do for a submission is say that you like it or you don't, that it should go to the House or it should be dismissed, and why you think it should be. And it could be like, I don't like what it's doing to the country. I don't think it respects tangata whenua enough. It can be as short as that. Or you could be that learned professor that will come on and present their views forcefully, backed up with everything they've got for 10 minutes. There is no difference in that. And his side is quite happy to use submission mailing lists in the past as a tool of putting things towards what they want.
As our
But
taxpayers
now
union,
it's against them.
as our
Taxpayers union,
groundswell,
Hobson's choice,
Hobson's pledge. Yeah, all do it.
all of those guys have all done this in the past, and now when it's so massively against him, where he's clearly huffed his own farts to the point where he believes what he's saying, that the people are with him, because I checked the ACT Facebook comments and everybody's with us on this, and has been so dramatically shown that he's wrong, that he's spawned an incredibly motivated political movement to push against this poisonous piece of policy that he has tried 3 other times before and failed. Now there is a yardstick that, not every Muppet can have an opinion on this. And they're fake, and they're apparently bots, which, again, that doesn't make any sense either. A bot suggests that it's an automated, inauthentic opinion, not that it's a lot of people putting in maybe a short opinion.
Yeah. I mean, it also just, now think back to those comments I read at the beginning, all the supporters on their Facebook page, the YouTube page, going,
Are they
it's
all
amazing.
authentic?
It's amazing. You guys show them. And that's something else I didn't show it, but in the, I'm going to be fair to ACT, because I am always fair, but in the interview they talked about him and John. I don't know if it was in the final interview or a bit of a throwaway, because I watched the whole thing to make sure I was covered. They talked about, John was like, how John talks. How many views do you get? And he goes, on a good video, 250,000. They've got about 500 videos on the ACT YouTube channel. 2 of them have over 250,000. 2. Now, the point where I would be fair is, I don't know how much they do on Facebook, so maybe there's more than that. But we did find this last week when they said that they basically he walks over the tiles and they slap something up later and he gets 20 to 30,000 views, and they don't. The odd one does. The majority of them get thousands. Like, we're not saying that we get more views than they do. They get thousands. But he actively lied last week, and he says to John Campbell in this conversation, a good video do 250,000 on YouTube. 2 out of, it might even be 700. 2 have had more than 250,000 views. So we'll just keep an eye on that. Anyway,
the other thing I want to say here is this is the second time that ACT social media team have done this. Because remember when they put up that bit with Mihi before he goes out on the tiles?
Yep.
And they put that up as a huge fucking win.
Yep.
And it was just Seymour being an utter dingus, getting massively railroaded and ambushed by Mihi.
Yeah.
So they don't know when they're winning, which is great.
I mean,
keep
in
doing
that
it. Good job.
In that conversation as well, Seymour said to John Campbell, "Oh, you're a superstar on our YouTube channel, meaning you're so terrible that you give us lots of fodder." Now, can I just suggest to you, please, ACT social media team, ditto, keep it up. You guys are doing fucking sterling work for us. Brilliant. All right. Let's get. We should do super chats. Speaking of the Twitter feed I read before, Campbell says, "Oh yay, I'm a virgin all over again." Arvids says the left are not sunning, they're a-holes. Tiffany says more leftist men do need to put our boots on though. Rajan says every queerphobe is a closet case. Changed my mind. It's interesting how often those happens. The only guy I know who regularly gets a back crack and sack wax is a super conservative right wing Christian. There you go.
Got to be nice and clean for God.
JC says, sad, I left New Zealand ages ago, but with but a few words in Māori, returned fluent in Mandarin, plus little bits of other languages. I now put much effort into Te Reo. Next gen should be fluent at primary school.
Can I just point out
agree.
Can I just point out the excellent donation value there?
What was it? Oh, 1840.
1840.
Oh, nice. I get
There's
it.
a little wee hidden message in there.
Little Easter egg for those who know, who should be fucking everybody. Everyone should know. You all know. Shayad says, I know a lot of big Māori boys who are TPM voting lefties. Come tell us we're soft snowflakes. Ha ha, we'll see who's soft. Yeah, I don't question that at all. Brooke van Velden said, what the fuck? And we're about to go into it. I told you on the notice video it was going to be a cracker tonight. Pat, he's trying to reinforce the rhetoric that the media can't be trusted just because John used the C word. Yeah, but the media can be trusted, and the evidence is TVNZ made him look better in the 11-minute video that 99% of people... I actually sent TVNZ an email. I said, could you please give me the numbers, or if not the numbers, a percentile, for how many views you got on the 11-minute interview versus the 43? Because it'll be like 90% see the 11. So in other words, he's now... ACT has now opened this up to many, many more people. And actually, if anything, TVNZ, why did you make him look better in your 11-minute clip that most people will have seen? Oh, David, says Arvids, buy bot Virgin Fund. All right. So in the ballot says David Seymour wearing a wire, those who he's snitching on. Wearing a wire, yeah, got it. Campbell, the submissions are only legitimate when it's convenient for me. Dickhead Seymour 2025. Late fee and Kiwi Bird. Seymour is a Larpitarian, not a libertarian. Larpitarian, not a libertarian. Yeah, look, it's a big focus on ACT tonight just because of Q&A over the weekend. Now, I don't know if you remember.
Just because of the way they are.
I don't know if you remember, Chewie, but I'm pretty sure. Remember how we would say previously, oh man, Brooke van Velden used to be everywhere. Then she disappeared. I'm pretty sure she disappeared after the last time she was on Q&A. Like, I genuinely think that's the timeline that she disappeared. We're just going to keep an eye out, Whānau, to see if she disappears again. Although, in fairness, I think the last time she disappeared, she didn't have big, massive policies and stuff she was driving, which she does now. So she might
say, where were you going with that sentence?
Policy. Let's have a look. Now, look, to be honest with you guys, we could watch this full 28 minutes because it's she's already dead. Stop hitting her. She's already dead. But I've highlighted 4 clips in my notes as the 4 that we must play. So we'll do those 4 first, and then we'll see what time we have left over. So, Brooke van Velden on Q&A over the weekend. And Jack is good. His researchers are good, eh? Because I love it when they bring out things that haven't been talked about before, kind of like what we just did with the hypocrisy of Seymour. But he talks about, and this is what I'm talking about, ACT will say something has to happen a certain way, and then they'll do it in a different way. And then when challenged on doing it in a different way, they go, oh, no, it doesn't apply here. Brooke van Velden on carrot versus stick, my words, using a punitive way of getting policy through, I guess you'd say through a supportive way, a carrot versus stick. It's very, very good by Jack.
So you said that this week, quote, a culture where the regulator is feared for its punitive actions rather than appreciated for its ability to provide clear and consistent guidelines is not conducive to positive outcomes. Your party, of course, supported increasing sanctions on beneficiaries in the midst of a recession, including cutting the benefits for...
So just to be clear, they're talking about the WorkSafe stuff. They don't want to be punitive with the WorkSafe stuff. So if anyone's unclear, that was the previous conversation. So the previous conversation has been about the WorkSafe changes and how Brooke van Velden's been saying we don't need to be punitive. Punitive is not the way to go forward. That's what we've been talking about.
Supported increasing sanctions on beneficiaries in the midst of a recession, including cutting the benefits for the parents of young children.
Sorry to interrupt. Can I ask one question? When did Q&A start doing these slow zooms? Like every single... but it's every time. It's like I just expect it to go swing, 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 swing. Like this show, I've never seen it before, and they do these slow zooms on every. It's a bit weird, but look, sorry, we'll keep going.
Beneficiaries in the midst of a recession.
You like it, right?
Including cutting the benefits for the parents of young children. You supported increasing...
I would support it if it went right into her eyes and picked up a bead of sweat going down her forehead.
That's happening, right? That's what we're going to get.
Okay.
Sanctions on some kāinga order residents, including kicking some of them out of their homes. So
gulp.
why does a punitive approach work for cracking down on poor people, but not for corporations?
Look, Jack, I just don't think you can try and compare any of these policies with each other.
Well, you can compare the philosophy behind the policy. So you're saying that sanctions and punitive actions don't work in getting good outcomes for corporations, but they do work when it comes to beneficiaries and kāinga order residents.
Well, look, it comes down to what do you believe is the objective here? Letting people know what is the right thing to do.
How do you get a good outcome, right?
Yeah, if you think of the case of kāinga ora tenants, it's really clear what you should be doing, which is trying to live peacefully with your neighbours and not create a culture of fear around.
But that doesn't answer the question. Why do you need a punitive way of doing that to get the outcome? This is a brilliant question by Jack. You're saying it can't be punitive to get the outcome you want when it comes to WorkSafe, but it's okay to be punitive to get the result when it comes to poor people. It's a very, very good question.
Kāinga ora developments. I don't want to get into that today because I'm actually here to talk about.
I know. We realise that. We can see the sweat. You don't want to get into it.
Kāinga ora developments. I don't want to get into that today because I'm actually here to talk about health
No, but
and safety.
I'm just looking at I understand. I'm just looking at the philosophy behind it, right? And so you're saying your whole thing, the kind of core of your argument is that punitive actions don't work when it comes to corporations and getting good outcomes for workplace health and safety. But apparently you have a different philosophy when it comes to poor people.
Well, look, has the being kind and trying to be very helpful up front with kāinga ora helped? No, it hasn't. So you do need to have the carrot.
Yeah, but what you're saying is being punitive hasn't worked for the work and safety. So it just doesn't matter if you're saying it that way. You're still saying that being kind hasn't worked, so we're going to be punitive. Or by being punitive hasn't worked, so we're going to be kind. You're saying the same thing, Brooke.
In the stick.
Depending on how you look at the homelessness numbers, maybe it hasn't.
No, I think that's the whole point. There has been this culture of trying to be kind when it comes to enforcement within.
And the last thing this ACT party wants is for anyone to think they're being kind. That's the last thing.
There has been this culture of trying to be kind when it comes to enforcement within kāinga ora. It hasn't worked, so they've needed to go harder with the stick. And I think some of the numbers that have been coming out show that actually has been working. But if you look at WorkSafe and our regulator for health and safety, that's the opposite. What I've been hearing from business owners and from workers as well is...
Can I just say as well, we're not really looking at the workplace stuff very much tonight, but she keeps saying from business owners and from workers. I'll be careful with the use of my language. It is my honest held belief. I believe truthfully that she's lying. I believe she has spoken to business owners. I do not believe that there are workers out there going, oh, these regulations that my workplace has to follow to keep me safe, they're just too restrictive. I do not believe that to be the case. Let me put it this way. My bullshit nerve's gone off, Chewie. Fairly aggressively when she says business owners and workers want to get rid of all these conditions around keeping workers safe. I don't accept that, and until you show me the evidence, I will stick by my I don't believe you model, just personally.
Oh, yes, no, I as a worker, I was furious when my boss had to put a handrail around the industrial mincing machine in the middle of my workplace. It really slowed down my work rate.
And it sucked because that lead-based paint was so much more vibrant than the one that they forced them to use that wouldn't give me those chips to inhale. I much rather would have had the lead-based paint one because it was prettier colour. All right, keep going.
There should be a rule if they introduce an anecdote like this, like I've talked to parents, I've talked to workers. Produce them, produce their details.
Yep.
So that can be fact checked.
Yep. Agreed. Here we go.
Is that they fear the stick so much because they don't know where the carrot is.
Yeah.
They haven't been seeing it at all.
I think we all know where the carrot is.
The carrot's not having your workers fucking die.
I think from watching the last clip with David Seymour, we all know where the carrot is.
And I'll give you just one kind of example.
I'll come back to this point in a moment, but it is just kind of core to your philosophy. I mean, by the same argument, why, if sanctions are effective for beneficiaries, have we seen the unemployment rate increase since they were introduced?
Right, but I'm not here to talk about that.
Okay, let's talk about other things.
But I'm not here to talk about that. Chewie.
But Jack, my pre-planned talking points ran out.
I'm not here to talk about that. Gold. Absolute gold. Right. Got these 4 highlighted clips. Let's go to the next one. Just turn my page over from all my work that I don't do at my job when I'm sitting in my mother's basement. A fantastic little conversation here it's a fantastic conversation from Jack. Yeah, the other half of it, not quite so sure about that. They've just spent a bunch of this talk, and I've cut out the first couple of minutes, talking about funding. It's in the workplace, right? Talking about funding for Māori deaths in the workplace. Apparently Māori have a much higher proportion of deaths in the workplace than non-Māori. So there's been special funding, allocated funding in a particular government department to address the issue of Māori deaths in the workplace. That's what they're talking about. And that word hypocrisy, Chewie, it kind of resonates for many of these ACT people.
The higher rates of harm for Māori is not necessarily because you are Māori. It's because you're working in those more dangerous environments and more dangerous industries. So by focusing on those 4 industries where we see those higher levels of harm, we are capturing a Māori population.
So you don't need the program, is what you're saying?
Yeah, that's right, because you're already capturing that by focusing on construction, agriculture.
We don't need the program. That's why we paused it. We don't. Oh, did you pause it? Hey, sure, Brooke, has that been paused?
And forestry.
Forestry, yeah.
Forestry, which is
They do still have the
predominantly
program.
Māori.
So we checked with them yesterday. They do still have the program. It's currently being refreshed according to their most recent quarterly report. They're refreshing it at the moment. They're going to reintroduce it.
Devastating.
Oh, well, that is news. I thought that was on pause.
So should they continue using it or not?
Well, if they would like to, but the last conversation I had was that it wasn't necessarily necessary because we were already focusing on the areas.
If they would like to?
Sure, if they'd like to. My goal is that
Wait
we
for
reduce harm and we reduce the number of...
Okay, so if this was a cartoon, what Jack Tame would be doing, come camera back on, I have a thing to show you. He would be doing this. You know, in the cartoon, the fist gets... That's what Jack would be doing when she has said, if they like to, because here comes the knockout blow.
Deaths and serious injuries. We know that the highest number of deaths and serious injuries do occur in forestry, construction, agriculture, manufacturing,
in which
where
there are many
is
Māori workers.
A lot of Māori workers.
But
so
you say, they
it's
can
fine.
continue that program, but isn't your party against race-based funding?
Yes, but that's why I think it's important that there is an alignment between these things.
Yeah, but you just said they can continue that program, but you're also against race-based targeting. I mean, surely a program, Maruiti, that specifically aims to reduce Māori deaths is race-based targeting.
Well, if it's in those specific areas where we're focusing on, forestry, which is a predominantly
I think you have attention focused on those areas as it is, but you also have a separate program that focuses on Māori deaths.
Yes, in those particular areas. Like I'll go and follow that up with them, but I was under the understanding it had paused.
Do you still...
Oh, Chewie.
Yikes.
At what point do you actually go, I actually feel a bit bad for her? Oh, my gosh. So ACT is against race-based funding. Look, so this is the exact thing. ACT is against race-based funding. There is race-based funding in WorkSafe for keeping Māori safe. Is that okay to continue? Yes, if they want to. But aren't you against race-based funding? Or can't compute.
Buffering.
Yeah,
that was devastating. Like, she just keeps on walking into traps.
Yeah.
I live for it. Do I feel bad? I don't know. If
There's two to come. There's two to come. Maybe you will.
Analogy, Pat. If I could use an analogy, Pat. If I was a lifeguard in a pool and this interview was Brooke van Velden swimming lengths, I would just go and sit in my car for a bit and let nature sort it out.
Yikes. Now, even if you're not feeling sorry for her now, Chewie, it gets worse. It's kind of hard to believe it could get, like, if there was a scale, an audience scale of getting worse, like the worm that Peter Dunn was famous for. It's already bottomed out. At the moment, it'll be at the bottom, and the worm would be going, let me further down, out through the floor. Let's keep. So this part we're going to look at now. It's only 90 seconds, Chewie, but it's all about road cones. It's a very important issue in the cost of living crisis, is road cones. And can I say this without sounding too chauvinistic or sexist or arrogant, but quite simply, some of the stupidest answers to any question asked of anyone in the history of the world, including a paraphrase, do you think road cones slow people down? No. Okay, have at it.
So you don't have evidence at the moment that reducing road
Oh, yeah,
cones...
pardon, just to let you know, sorry about that. I actually cut out, because I'm trying to make it a bit short, I cut out the first bit. They've done 2 minutes on this before, where she's actively said there's no evidence they have to show that fewer road cones will keep people safer, because that's their position. Fewer road cones will keep people safer. That's the position. Both people on the road and people working. Fewer road cones will keep people safer. Where's the evidence for that? We have none. So that's what Jack's referring to.
I think you'll find it is as well.
So you don't have evidence at the moment that reducing road cones will save lives. It's a theory at the moment, but you are focused on productivity. NZTA puts the statistical value of a human life at $12.5 million. So how many road cones would have to be removed to justify even one additional death?
Look, Jack, I'm not getting into numbers like that. I think that's a very dangerous game to get into. But what we do know...
Sorry, Minister, isn't that your job?
No, what we do know is that when...
I don't think she's ever had a job description before. She's just had one. You know, doing the cost-benefit analysis. That's exactly the job, the cost-benefit analysis. And that's a really harsh, heavy way he's put it, but it's what he's doing.
But what we do know...
Sorry, Minister, isn't that your job?
No, what we do know is that when people see road cones, there is a frustration with them, which means that people have more anger and more aggression.
So 50 people are angry, so more people can die. That seems like a pretty fair trade-off.
There is a frustration with them, which means that people have more anger and more aggression.
But they also slow down.
They don't see the harm. Are they slowing down? I don't think that's the case. You go and just stake out a 30k area just for a couple of minutes to see whether or not people are actually slowing down. And I think you'll find that they're really not.
But you think that reducing road cones will make them slow?
Please, TVNZ, you're our last hope. Get a camera, go out to some road cones. Like, if she had said when they make the limit 30 k's an hour around road cones, no one's going 30, probably would agree with that, right? Because we're all doing 40 or 42 or 45 in a 50. But to say people aren't slowing down, that's testable. That is testable. Have got any students watching who are working on their stats research for this year? Go and test it. Are they slowing down? If they are, by how much? Because what she's literally saying is that she doesn't believe that road cones will slow people down. So you know those road cones that kind of zip in and out and make you turn you into like this one, yes, not slowing down. Or those ones that have lights at either end, not slowing down. That's what I'm saying. Some of the stupidest answers in the history of interviews worldwide, which is saying something because Donald Trump's been fucking interviewed before.
Down. And I think you'll find that they're really not.
But you think that reducing road cones will make them slow down?
That's right, because we'll see fewer of them, but we'll actually be able to identify that when we do see a road cone in the future, that it's actually linked to genuine harm. I think the problem that we're facing is because we've become so accustomed to seeing road cones everywhere, and we no longer associate them with harm but frustration. People don't obey them. They don't slow down. They don't see any harm. They don't reduce their speed, and could lead to more accidents. Whereas in the future, my hope is that when we see road cones out on the streets, we acknowledge that there is a reason for it. It's there to reduce risk, reduce harm, and it's there to keep the work site safe.
I'm like, you know, I used to do debating at school, and you get a moot and you find a way to argue either side of it. How do you argue road cones don't slow people down? Or fewer road cones makes the road safer? Like, I can't even think of an argument that I don't agree with if I had to pick that out of the hat and do 4, you know?
Now, please, someone correct me on this if they've clarified this point. But just listening to Brooke talk there, is the argument that we're using too many road cones overall, or incidents, the situations that we use road cones are too many. Because I've seen both points made that, like, we might use road cones every metre around a work site when it could easily be every 2 metres around a work site. Or we're making the point where road cones are put out for jobs that don't need them. I haven't seen this clarified.
No, I to be honest, I think it's pretty clear. She's just saying there's too many of them. Like when we moved to Dunedin, one of our options was Christchurch, and I went to Christchurch, and my memory of Christchurch was high vis.
Yeah, it was road cone set.
High vis jackets and road cones. There was, like, I'm not going to say they had too many, but that's what she's saying. Oh my gosh, you try and drive through Auckland, and there's just road cones everywhere. Yeah, because there's working going on. Well, we just need to. So in other words, have literally fewer individual road cones. So that means that the thing that's not clear, does that mean fewer jobs happening? Or like rather than using 150 road cones, they're only using 75. I think it's that.
So they're replacing a pipe in the road, or they're fixing a draining ditch or something.
Yeah.
And previous to this remarkably important piece of legislation for that road site, let's pull a number out of my ass, that they would have used 100 road cones.
Yep.
And now they're
hang on, stop, don't go on. And that's not causing people to slow down, and they don't see that as important. Could I add those two things?
Yep. You see 100 road cones.
Yep.
That's far too many. Your brain blots out, and you go past 100.
Yep.
Or
you might even speed up.
And now they're changing that, so they'll use 50 road cones, and you go, right, that's less road cone, so it's important.
Yeah. Because you see the road cones now.
Or are they saying that the job of replacing the pipe or the draining ditch or whatever we're using in this example isn't a job that needs road cones at all? It's not important enough.
They haven't said that, but we say this about ACT and their small government. Are we saying logically 0 road cones is the best outcome they can have? Because if fewer is better, when you get to the end of fewer, it's 0.
So that's the thing, right? It's someone going, well, this job is important enough to have road cones. This job on the side of the main highway is not important enough to have road cones, and we'll just let drivers work it out. So both ways, her argument fails.
Yeah.
If she's saying that she's there to make sure that workers come home at the end of their shift and not die on the side of the road or get munched by a piece of road making equipment, neither of those arguments work. Because 100 road cones is too many and people ignore it. Obviously, 50 road cones is not somehow more effective. And then the other side of the argument is that we have no road cones, and then people don't notice the work and they clip a driver going past at 100. Her argument doesn't stack up anyway.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that she's trying to defend it out there is horrific. It's like someone should throw her a rope to pull her out of that pool that I mentioned. But before I've thrown her the rope, I've covered it in margarine and lube.
Ooh.
And she's just grabbing it and it's not working. Like, this is dreadful. She's got her talking points. I'll give her this. She delivers her talking points wonderfully. She's put in the work to know how Jack was going to come after her, mostly. And she's trying her best. But this is a ridiculous piece of legislation. And there are better ways to try and defend it. She's doing none of them. It makes no sense. Bad for Brooke.
And Chewie, I'm sorry to let you know this, but this last conversation around the RSB, Regulatory Standards Bill, and how it relates to the Equal Pay Act that they changed, this is far worse. Believe it or not, this is far worse than what you've just heard. Let's have at it.
The Regulatory Standards Bill says consultation with people who will be materially affected is a foundational principle of good lawmaking. So of the people who are going to be materially affected by the pay equity changes you introduced, who did you consult before making those changes?
Look, I think it's pretty clear with the changes that we've seen go through that I had an impetus and a request from my Cabinet colleagues to get this work done as fast as I could.
Sorry, that's not my question. The question was, given your own Regulatory Standards Bill says that consultation...
Now, I know it's obvious for 90% of us, but let me just put it out there. The Regulatory Standards Bill, which they're trying to pass, obviously, right, where they want to put through, says these two things. Retrospective legislation is not allowed, and consultation with people directly impacted by legislation, any legislation, must be had. So I know he's kind of explaining that, but if there's one person out there who's missed it, he's referencing their RSB, their Regulatory Standards Bill, which is not yet law, but he's referencing that and saying, why aren't you abiding by your own legislative desires? Just for clarity.
The question was, given your own Regulatory Standards Bill says that consultation is vital, who did you consult with?
We consulted with Cabinet colleagues. My Cabinet colleagues asked me to get this done very fast.
You say, to go back to it again, you say consultation with people who are materially affected. So who that will be materially affected did you consult with?
So this is the perfect example of ACT wants us, everybody else, to follow the rules that they're putting forward in their Regulatory Standards Bill. Like, this is the way they want to do it until they want to pass legislation and they don't want to do it. This has been the hypocrisy show brought to you by the letter H. You guys, and look, I'll just put it out there. When we're talking about getting rid of stuff to do with utility and the treaty, we're going to ram this through and these are the conditions that apply. I don't know, we're not going to follow those conditions with our legislation, but everyone else's for the legislation we put in. Or what they're saying is we're using this language in the Regulatory Standards Bill, like that you got to consult and you can't do it retrospect, to make it look like it's not as scary as it is. And we're proving that because we don't really mean it, because we're not really following it anyway. That's the other thing it could be.
Materially affected. So who that will be materially affected did you consult with?
Look, Jack, I'm not responsible for the Regulatory Standards Bill. That is David Seymour.
You are responsible for pay equity changes?
I am responsible for the pay equity changes.
So that's my question. Who that was materially affected by those changes did you consult with?
Look, there was not widespread consultation. There was consultation with Cabinet colleagues. But look...
She misspoke the word none. There was none. There was no consultation. There was not widespread. There was zero. And she's about to say, because we weren't able to, that's because they chose to put it through under urgency. The reason she's going to try and use an excuse right now that says, I would have, if we could have, was they chose not to. You know, they chose not to, and they could have done it another way if they chose to do it a standard way.
Under a normal process, I would have loved to have done
I would have loved to, Chewie.
We didn't have the
Let me ask about another part of
that
that change.
case.
So the Regulatory Standards Bill says laws should not be retrospectively enacted. Your changes, of course, have retrospective effect.
There's
it
that
says you
Zoom again,
should
Pat.
consult with people who are materially affected. You didn't consult with those people. So why don't the regulatory standards that your party says are so important not apply to your laws?
Yeah.
Look, Jack, I think it's really clear. You know, under normal circumstances, we would wish to follow very strong regulatory...
Yeah, Brooke, you chose the circumstances. You chose them. Under normal circumstances, there was no reason to do this under urgency. You chose to. This could have been normal circumstances, and you chose for it not to be. So you can't basically go, you know what? If we had done it a different way, we would have when we chose to do it a different way. You can't use that as a defence because you chose not to do it under the norms, the normal process.
You know, under normal circumstances, we would wish to follow very strong regulatory standards. That
By the way, Chewie, in the last 45 seconds, it gets worse. Just telling you, just putting it out there.
Is core to the ACT Party principles. This is a policy that I said at the start of my term I was interested in pursuing. It became really clear this year that my cabinet colleagues wanted me to work on this as quickly as I could. I am a team player, and so I did my job.
Okay, I tweeted this today. My cabinet colleagues wanted, and she just said, I'm a team player. Her loyalty is not to the voter, not to her constituents, not to the party. Her loyalty, and I know we know this, but she just said the quiet bit out loud, is she is loyal to the caucus. I am a team player. Even if I didn't want to pass this, even if I thought this bill was wrong, I am a team player. I will do what I have to do because the team wants it. Chewie, this has got about 20 seconds. So we get to the end?
Sure.
Because I'm still going to say it gets worse in the last 20 seconds.
However,
Right, so
if I'd had the
regulatory
ability
standards
to,
are
I would have
important
done a different
sometimes,
process.
but not. Yeah, they're important sometimes, but not necessarily for laws that are convenient for
I'm a
for
team
your
player
government to
for the
pass.
government. The ACT Party would
Yeah.
love strong regulatory standards. That is core to who we are as a party. But I was asked by my cabinet colleagues to do this as fast as I could.
Do you believe there are
I'm a team player for the government.
For the government.
Quote. I'm a team player for the government.
Brooke, you might want to look at your job description. You put there by the New Zealand Voter. You work for us.
Yeah. Can I?
That-
that's a good question. Who
that
is your boss, Brooke?
Monstrous.
Who pays you, Brooke? Who is your boss?
You received a phone call from someone further up the chain that said, hey, Brooke, we're completely fucked on the budget. We need to find quite a bit really fucking quickly. Can you just, I don't know, finagle something? Ignore everything that's gone before. Disregard anything that's going to come out of this. We need it now. And she went, dib, dib, dob, dob, I'm a team player. It's done.
13 billion, just like that.
God, I hope I don't have to go on Q&A at some point in the future. Why are you looking at me like that?
I do wonder why they go on. Like, I mean, they should go on. You know what I mean? Like they basically have to go on. But I do wonder why Brooke van Velden would agree to go on. When has it ever gone well for any of them? I mean, honestly. I mean, I say that out loud, obviously hoping that they're never going to start turning Jack down. But how can they spin that? They try and spin John Campbell's conversation by showing how much they're going to show the whole thing when TVNZ has showed the whole thing, and TVNZ cut out some of the worst bits that make him look worse. They go on Q&A and it comes off like this. I mean, they're constantly talking about how bad the media is, and it's the opposite. Media seems to be doing an okay job, even a mediocre job. You guys are shithouse.
Pat, I know Q&A is a very serious show and Jack Tame isn't there to do comedy, but I'm just saying it would have been really good during that conversation, that questioning, that if we had a combination of that slow zoom in, and then as it's going very badly and she's answering, the camera slowly zooms out to find a guy in high-vis putting road cones around this very clear car accident that this interview was.
That's very funny.
Like that would have been comedy gold. What's not comedy is it is very clear. This isn't even the first time that it's like, no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what people think. We're just going to ram it through. This has happened so many times. You've got the ferry. You've got everything that they've done under under urgency when it's not fucking urgent. You've got the fast track legislation. Speed is the enemy of democracy. That to me is very, very clear. And I know it's frustrating when government seems to move very slowly. But if that is coming from a point of like, well, we actually need to talk to people that this affects, and we actually need to listen to them, and then we actually need to come back with something better. That's how it's supposed to work. What we've got here is we know people are going to hate this. This does fit our ideology. We are going to fucking do it because we know we've got the numbers to do it. And we're going to do as much fucking damage in the next year as we can. And it's going to make the other guys look really bad when they spend most of their term trying to fucking undo everything we've ruined.
Yeah, it's an interesting point actually. That, I mean, you used to talk about them front loading it for the next election. Maybe they're just like, screw the next election. Let's just get it all done now. Let's make it impossible for them. And like for example, and I thought of this the other day, if you were like Labour, or even the Greens, right? The Greens right now should be starting to talk about, we will be cancelling any mining contracts that get signed up under this government. We will cancel them, even if we have to pay you out, we will cancel them. If this government signs up mining contracts, gas contracts, offshore, national parks, they will be getting cancelled under any government that we're involved with. And then what company is going to want to come anywhere near New Zealand and mining? The Greens could actually put a handbrake on that by making it very clear that if and when, well, it'll be when, they are next in a position of power, all you trillionaire mining companies out there will be having to take a big L, or actually what came up in the chat the other day, any profits that go offshore will be taxed at 90%, 95%. Then see how much they like them. I've
seen this pointed out in the chat so many times. Like the fact that our workplace relations minister refuses
hang on. No, you're right. You're right the first time.
Yeah, refuses to talk to unions.
Yeah,
is just a massive red flag. Like I can understand as an ACT MP that you don't agree with unions, right? That's fine. I get it. But now you are in a position where they are part of your job description. You still have to listen to them. You can disregard them if you want, but the absolute bald-facedness of going, no, I'm not even going to waste my time. I'm not even going to talk to them is just, it's so egregious. It's so out in the open. I think we're past the point of front loading. Because I would expect with front loading that, like, okay, for the first half of our term, we're just going to wreck. We're just going to drive a bulldozers right through everything. But then we've got to have half of our term where we're just giving out gifts and kissing babies and making sure everybody feels fucking good about everything. They have gone into this with, what's the opposite of imposter syndrome?
Imposter? Well, if you're an imposter, you don't think you are. Unearned
confidence.
Yeah.
Of just coming in and going, oh yeah, we believe this so wholeheartedly that we're going to flip a switch on the economy and suddenly the sun's going to come out. It goes against all economic theory. It goes against every economic reality. And now they've got nothing but, oh shit, we might as well just speed run everything that we wanted to do over 2 terms. We're proper fucked now.
We maybe I'll play it later in the week or something, but the other thing about that conversation with Campbell and Seymour that was quite interesting is Campbell says at one stage, do you think you got more than you bargained for? Like, did you do better in the negotiations than you thought you would have with Luxon? And look, fair enough. Seymour said, well, we aim so high that you're never going to get there. So did we get more or not? I don't really know. But he was asked directly by Campbell about the treaty bill. And he said, what if Luxon said to you, absolutely not going to happen, no way, no chance. And Seymour said in that interview, well, economics is more important to us. We probably would have left it alone and gone elsewhere. And then he said, I read a book on how to negotiate the weekend before, and I got some good advice from that. And John Campbell goes, what were some of the good things? And he said, well, there was one from a hostage negotiator, and the hostage negotiator said you never go in to a situation where there are 4 hostages and be happy walking out with 2. So what he was saying was, I read a book the weekend before negotiations, and I was a better negotiator than Christopher Luxon, the so-called CEO Prime Minister. Seymour read a book, and one of the chapters in that book gave him more skills to negotiate than our CEO Prime Minister, who is supposed to be, when I'm saying the equivalent of Trump, not necessarily in his policies, but I'm the business guy, I make deals. And one weekend reading one book, Seymour dog walked him in negotiations. So, let's do a bunch of chats and then let's get the heck out of Dodge. Arvid says, it's a big ACT night. Yeah, because they're efforts. Yeah. Late fee, says Jeremy. Tane says, I've never seen Brooke van Velden in any workplace visit. Photo ops. Oh, that's interesting. I'm sure there are, but yeah, not very obvious. Jack Tame should interview a road guy next. Look. Can I say I'm proud of one thing, Chewie? We got all the way through that piece, and at no stage did we make any kind of joke about smoking a cone. Like at no stage did we bring that up anywhere.
You know what that is?
To do with cones.
You know what that is, Pat?
Maturity.
It's growth. It's
Put traffic cams around roadworks, says Citizen Gold. Arvid says, are the road cones in the room right now? Don't say road cones in the mirror 3 times, Chewie, or they turn up behind you. We need work safe so Brooke won't fall into Jack's traps. Oh, that's very funny. That's very funny.
That'd be just the next question for you, and puts a little road cone on the desk.
I investigated myself.
He gets up to.
I investigated myself and everything was fine. Tane again said, road cones are to slow traffic approaching. Road repairs are for road worker safety. What the fuck is the point of her ministry? Yep. Hundy, Brooke van Velden and cones brings out all the comedians in the chat. Oh, they got onto it there, says Wahiki. Just what I needed, thanks. Alrighty.
There was one other point that I saw in the chat as well that I think is very valid. It's not the cones that are meant to slow down traffic. It's the temporary speed limit signs that they put up.
The cones are to separate. The cones are to separate people from cars. Yeah, the temporary boundary.
They show you where to drive. You might have to drive on the other side of the road or something. But actually, if there's a speed change, there is a speed sign before you get to the cones. So is that what we're talking about? Is like, okay, well, we know that people ignore speed signs.
Yeah.
So you're breaking the law.
Yeah.
So maybe the answer is more enforcement, Pat. Maybe we need to have police at every fucking road. Like, it's stupid. Her argument doesn't matter how you want to try and find logic. There isn't any there.
Yeah.
It's completely not evidence-based. It's vibes. Grumpy old men somehow get their knickers in a twist over fucking road cones, and now we have a government shit out just this slurry of bad policy.
Little announcement to make. Welcome to the moderating team. Little asterisk.
He's got a spanner.
He's got a spanner. Welcome to the team. I spoke to Rogers at the meetup in the weekend. All right, team. Yep, I think we all need to go because we're keeping Kiwi Skirt up. Apparently, apparently it's too late for Kiwi Skirt. Kiwi Skirt's yawning, so I think it's time to go home. I mean,
bedtime.
Yeah, lots going on this week, team. I've got a few conversations out there, a few interview hopes out there. You know me, I don't like to tease them till they're booked, or at least till I've asked, but there's a few out there. And we'll continue on with this conversation and see what happens. But yeah, the hypocrisy.
Have we called David Seymour a little bitch enough for him to come on the show?
Well, we might be ruining our chances, but you know, someone gave me a piece of advice once, which was something like, never go into an interview needing to go a second time. You know, don't basically, you know, don't change your interview for the sake of the ability to come again. Come again. We couldn't say that again by David Seymour. You know what I'm saying? All right, team. We will catch you on the morrow at 9 p.m. For another edition of whatever the hell this thing is that we're calling it right now. I don't know, something like that. And if you're one of our 12 new patrons, what am I doing?
What have you done?
Myself somewhere. Oh, I'm playing myself.
What are you playing with yourself?
Yeah, I'm playing with myself. Hang on. Where's my mouse gone? There it is. I had to open up the YouTube channel when I made Rogers a moderator, and so that's why that was us playing back to ourselves. But it's gone. I remember that happened on one of our first days, and we couldn't figure out where the echo was coming from. See how good we are now? When we fuck up, we know how to fix it almost straight away. I forgot what I was saying. I think that means the show's about to end. Oh, that's right. If you're one of our 12 new, patrons, then look out for your name in the credits. And after my 18-year-old finishes the stock take on all the merch we've got in the house, the next thing is going to be a stock take on the credits, because there are going to be people in there more than once, and there are going to be people there who are no longer patrons, and there might even be a couple there who currently are. So that's going to be her job once she's finished with the merch. So
Now remember, people, that's the hidden benefit of being a Patreon, is that you make Pat's life a little bit harder dealing with the credits. So you can take solace in that. It's going to be a 2-hour Monday show. Here it comes.
Help us settle a debate, whether it be thoughtful or funny, even if we're all creatures of hate. It's a fine line that we're walking together. For better, push aside the temptation to berate. Let's take a note of the corners we stand in. As many points as the hairs on my chinny chin chin. When the news that we're watching is hairy, knowing all the things that we need to be wary of. The rich have the hand out for rewards, while the many don't work at what they can afford. And the rest of us ain't paying attention, or maybe have questions we're too worried to mention. Other media is still dwelling on trivial facts, betting peas from the rice and the mice from the rats, and picking and choosing a war path to run, and linking ourselves with the hill to die on. It's gotta come down to a welcoming vibe, with an A and a self and a higher in mind. All have a lean either this way or that. Be analyzed by what Chewie and Pat, with the evil in the world trying to mess with your head, and you're sitting on the couch, you're thinking chivalry's dead. Each night, 2 nights, they're gonna sing you to bed. It's Big Hairy News.
I have nothing else to say. I'll see you tomorrow at 9 p.m. for another edition. Big Hairy News. Chewie, anything?
I got a megaphone. That's it. That's all.
All right.
That's everyone needs to know.
Catch you tomorrow, team. All the best. Be safe. Be
Go
well.
nice.
Hooroo.
Bloody what?
Big Hairy News.
Oh.